is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 710 Reviews UK. And you might notice I'm in a little bit of better quality fucking video, people, and that's because we got a new fucking camera. We've got the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I've got the fucking little carry case thing here, so hopefully the videos now look a little bit sort of like smoother and cleaner. And I'm not going to use all my fucking phone memory anymore because I've literally been recording on my phone now for like nearly 2 years. So, but today, people, we have a drop here from my boy over at Sticky Icky Mickey. What a fucking wild name. And he was ever so kindly to add in an addition to an order that I made the other day and gave me some of his Zour Rainbow. So the pack here, I actually really like the pack. You can't really see it because my light's kind of fucking blasting the fuck out of the white packaging, but it's kind of got like a raised texture with like a Mickey logo all over it. And then the actual like branding here is all kind of like raised as well. Really cool branding, really like that. The jars as well especially look fucking amazing, but the bag appeal means pretty much nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's all about what's inside. So let's have a fucking smell, people. I just realized as well, actually, before I talk about the smell on this, I never actually told you the cross of this. The cross of Zour Rainbow, Zour Rainbows, is sour guava across rainbow Skittles. Two incredibly sweet and fruity strains. I've never had sour guava. I had to do a little bit of research on it, but I've had a lot of guava strains. They tend to all follow the same sort of suit. Rainbow Skittles is a pretty classic strain at this point, and I've had it 1,000,001 times. So I'm expecting really strong, sweet, fruity notes, maybe tropical fruitiness as well from the guava. But let's have a look. So yeah, like sticking your nose in that pack, it's insanely fruity inside of there. Almost like you know when you get like orange peel and it kind of adds that it adds like a real strong sort of like citrusiness to your room and stuff. It really has like that sort of note to it. Strong, sweet, tropical flavors, and like I say, with like a background note of like an orange note. So what I'm going to do is roll this up into a doobie and we'll see how she smokes. But remember, people, if you want to see any of the footage of this flower or any of the footage of any of the other flowers, make sure you click any of the pop-out banners around or any of the links in the description. They'll take you to my short side of my channel where you can see all of the shorts, all of the footage of the hash, flower, vapes, extracts, whatever you want. It's all on there. But how is she smoking, people? Alright, so we are back, people. The doobie is now rolled. I need to say this though at the beginning, because while the flower smells really nice and it does actually look quite nice as well, it is really quite dry and a little bit too dry for what I like. So I noticed when I was like kind of breaking the nugs apart, it almost made like a crack sound. It's just a tad too dry for me. I think they needed a little bit of stickiness. Now I could have left this in a jar with like a Bodega pack or whatever. I did a bit of humidity to it, but I needed to get the review out and stuff. So hopefully this doesn't fuck it up too much. So I've had a few pulls of this now. It hasn't really messed with the flavor at all, so I'm super happy about that. It is just like a bone dry nug. It's super clean so far. Really solid oil ring as well. Like no complaints there. I'd probably say this is like ash wise. Let me just pop it up to the sort of like light, see if I can sort of see it. I wouldn't say it's like bone ash white or anything like that. It's slightly grayer and stuff, but it's very clean overall. It's mad though. The flavor from the, like, when you compare it to like the smell, the flavor is slightly different. It's got more of like a sort of like pungent funk to it. It's less sweet than I was expecting. There's still the sort of like fruity notes that are there, but it is way less fruity than I was expecting. So I've gotten to around about the sort of like quarter mark now with the actual smoke. Like I said earlier, it's definitely got like a sort of like odd funkiness to it. Not that it's like it's bad or anything like that, but it's just more surprising because when you smell the actual flower, obviously it's quite fruity. It has like sort of tropical notes to it with like what I'd said before about that sort of like almost like an orange peel smell to it. But it doesn't necessarily translate into the smoke. Like I say, it's a little bit more sort of like pungenty funkiness. There's a slight earthy tone to it as well, with like a more sort of like end note of sweetness. So when you exhale the smoke, it's then quite sweet, but it's not sweet on the initial intake, which is so bizarre when you're comparing it to the smell. I'll smoke the rest of the doobie and I'll let you know my thoughts. So I'm coming up to the sort of like last parts of the actual joint now and stuff. So I feel like I can really give you my overall opinion on this. So I will state this, obviously I was said earlier on in the review that the ash was more sort of grey. I think that was just more just how it had started off, because obviously when I got to sort of like the halfway point, the ash had stayed on the whole way, like proper margin. And it was way whiter. It wasn't like, again, like bone ash white or anything like that, but it was a very clean smoke overall. No fucking complaints there. The oil ring is immaculate. It is legitimately like I've put some hash in there and stuff. This is coming like the fucking premium pack stuff had been coming. Insanely resonate, which is kind of crazy because like I don't tend to find that like really dry like nugs will ever really have an oil ring, because like most of the resin's kind of like gone from the flower. So I'm really quite impressed with this one so far. But moving on into sort of like the taste and whatnot, like I say, the biggest surprise about this really is just how it doesn't match the sort of terps of the actual smell. It has got a more of like an earthy Skittles vibe and stuff, or maybe like a spicier Skittles vibe rather than like a super fruity vibe. The fruitiness and the citrusiness only really comes out, in my opinion, in the exhale and stuff, and at that point it's quite nice because it does sort of take the edge off of like the overall sort of like pungent funkiness that comes from the inhale. A very pleasant smoke, but honestly quite kind of like mind-blowing that it's gone that way. But this is exactly why I sort of say in my reviews and stuff, it doesn't really matter. I've just fucking put my hand in a load of ash. It doesn't really matter about the looks or the smell of it. It really does come down to the actual taste, because like if you'd have smelt that and stuff just at like a shop, or like say you were at a dispensary and you would have thought you were going to get super fruity terps and then you smoke it and you don't, that'd be such a weird sort of like mind fuck, if you get me. But I'm not mad at all, because this has been an incredibly pleasant smoke. Last thing that I'll say before we end up closing off this review, the whole smoke of this has been incredibly smooth, people. No irritants on your throat, super nice on your chest. Like it really does just sort of feel like you're taking a breath in. There's no real sort of like irritants in any capacity, which is so nice, man. Like I can't express how many people get that wrong, and it's usually down to a bad cure, but this has clearly been cured pretty well. While it probably cured for a little bit too long, in my opinion, I would have preferred a little bit more moisture in these. It's not something you can't just solve yourself with a little fucking like humidifier pack in a jar or whatever. To stick Icky Mickey for this one, absolutely wild name, I love it. I appreciate you adding on this into my order, man. It was a massive thank you. And we'll be back next time for another episode of 710 Reviews UK.